A pleasant and warm, sunshine-filled Virgin Islands, good morning. That's what we love about the Virgin Islands. It's always warm, always 80-something degrees. Well, good morning, all. I am Munifa Brathwaite, the Public Information Officer for the Virgin Islands Port Authority, and I'd like to thank you all for coming to the Port Authority's Airports P3 Industry Forum. We are here this morning at the award-winning and world-famous Standard Aviation hangar at the Cyril Airport on St. Thomas, a most fitting location for an airport industry forum. Before we begin this morning, I'd like to welcome and acknowledge the Honorable Albert Bryan Jr., Governor of the United States Virgin Islands, the Honorable Novel E. Francis Jr., President of the 35th Legislature. Please stand. And all the other honorable senators here from the 35th Legislature. We have Dwayne DeGraff. I'm sorry. We have the Honorable Carla Joseph, Milton Potter, Javon James, and our Senator at Large, Angel Bocas Jr. Representing the office of Congresswoman Stacey E. Plaskett, we have Mrs. Shanola Alexander. Thank you for coming. And to our speakers on today's panel, which include the Honorable Joseph Buchelter, our Commissioner of the Department of Tourism, Mr. Willard John, he's the Chairperson of the Port Authority's Board of Governors. And I'd also like to recognize Mr. Kevin Rodriguez. He's not speaking, but he is a member of the Port Authority Board of Governors as well. We have Mr. Carlton Dow, my favorite, the Executive Director of the Port Authority. Mr. Wayne Biggs Jr., the CEO of the VI Economic Development Authority. Mr. John Woods is the President of the St. Thomas St. John Chamber of Commerce. And Mrs. Nancy Torres, board member of the St. Croix Chamber of Commerce. And last but certainly not least, if you know him, Mr. Larry Belinsky, the managing director of Frasca and Associates. And I'd like to say good morning to all the members of our advisory group, our airline and airport partners. I know I see American Airlines and a few of them there in the back. Good morning to you. Our CBP Area Port Director, Mr. Todd Bellew, I saw him this morning as well. Our stakeholders, employees, other guests with us today, and those viewing and listening remotely. Good morning to all. Allow me to also extend a special greeting to our guests here today who traveled from all corners of the world in response to the Port Authority's issuance of a request for qualifications on December 29, 2022, seeking a public-private partnership, a P3 arrangement, with a private airport investor, operator, and terminal developer to modernize and upgrade the territory's two airports, the Henry E. Rosen Airport on St. Croix and the Cyril E. King Airport on St. Thomas. Welcome. We are excited to have you here with us today to share valuable information with you about our airports and unique opportunities that are available to those doing business in America's paradise, the U.S. Virgin Islands. The modernization and expansion of our airports is critical to improving the arrival and departure experience for our residents and our visitors. It will also significantly enhance our tourism product and provide a better working environment for our valued airport partners. After today's presentation, the media will join Governor Bryan and VIPA Executive Dow for a press briefing. Registered guests today will also join our airport officials for a tour of the airfield and terminal. We will also conduct a tour of our airport facilities on St. Croix tomorrow for registered guests only. Today's presentation and a video of today's forum will be shared on our project website, vipairportsp3.com. We will now begin our presentation with a video from our Department of Tourism that showcases the U.S. Virgin Islands, followed by remarks from our Tourism Commissioner, Mr. Joseph Buchelter.
legislatures, delegates' office. Good morning, everyone. My name is Joe Schulte, Commissioner of Tourism. I just want to start by a light moment. I believe that this is an omen that when you do work in the USVI, it'll finish on time, under budget, and even finish before time, because I thought I was on time coming in here for an 11 a.m. start, and they're like, Joe, they're starting at 10:52. So that's a sign for us that you do stuff in the VI, we'll get it done before the deadline. I want to begin by having the distinct honor to serve as Commissioner of Tourism of, using one of Monifer's words today, my favorite destination in the world is the United States Virgin Islands, naturally in rhythm. I hope you had an opportunity to see what we have millions of visitors that come into every year to see, is our beauty, to appreciate what we have to offer as a destination, and most importantly, what we believe is our truest asset of all, which is our people. And I think as you come and you learn more about the U.S. Virgin Islands, moving around, about the project, you'll see that our people are very much invested in tourism. We are not only invested in tourism, but we are veterans of the game of tourism. We've been involved for decades. We have millions of people come in every year, which is phenomenal, considering that we're 3 small islands in the Caribbean with a population of under 90,000 people. And for what we can do with that should be a testament for all of the investors in the room that see this as a potential money-earning proposition for your stakeholders. The U.S. Virgin Islands is coming off a very, very strong performance during COVID-19. We had the opportunity to make a leadership decision led by our governor and our health protocol team to reopen the destination very early in the COVID process. And the U.S. Virgin Islands not only opened, but led the renaissance of travel for the United States throughout the pandemic. We had the fortunate to lead the Caribbean in terms of occupancy rates for much of the pandemic, and our average daily rates were amongst the highest, and for a period, the highest in the region. As we move into what I like to define as the correction period, now that businesses have allowed for their employees to travel, much of the world is open right now, sans China, there still is high demand for the United States Virgin Islands. And we have an opportunity now to enhance our offerings through why we're all here today, which is to improve our operations at the airport through the expansion that will be defined later by some of my people that are sitting up here with us about the actual airports. Right now, in 2022, the U.S. Virgin Islands had almost 1 million rooms available between the 3 islands. Of that, we were a little under 70% occupancy for 2022. Extremely strong considering where the rest of the world is. We've also had the opportunity to have one of the few destinations with a very, very strong sharing economy portfolio. We have over 5,500 sharing economy rooms that we know of right now, and they continue to increase daily. Our ADR for our sharing economy rooms, that's Airbnb, Vrbo, Home Away from Home, continue to be amongst the highest in the region. The Department of Tourism continues to aggressively market the destination as an overnight destination and as a marine haven for those that prefer to stay on super yachts, charter yachts, as well as any kind of other marine vessel you could think of. So we have them all, and what we've seen over the past couple of years is that people are appreciating what we have to offer from that particular subsection. Last month, I had the opportunity to do a satellite media tour where we spoke to 30 different radio and TV networks across the United States. I'm pleased to report back that we had 1,100 plus airings across the United States to a viewing audience of 78 million people. So it went as far west as Spokane and as far east as Miami. The U.S. Virgin Islands continues to be on the move. We have had the commitment and support of our legislatures throughout my tenure and before in terms of their approving our budget that we asked for, so thank you. Governor Bryan and his team continue to support the Department of Tourism, so you can walk away today understanding fully that the Department of Tourism is fully vested in the growth of the U.S. Virgin Islands as a tourism destination. I want to close by saying that as a tourism head, particularly in the Caribbean, a region of the world that is known for vacations, people tend to gravitate toward tiny new toys. So whether that's a hotel property, whether that's a new attraction, and of course for us, what we hope to be the best 2 airport stations in the Caribbean after this project, we believe that this will again provide another stepping stone to the U.S. Virgin Islands being the dominant tourism destination in the Caribbean. With that, I want to thank everyone that expressed interest in our project. We believe that it's going to be something that is going to not only change the fabric of tourism in the USVI, but it's also going to be a wonderful addition to residents like myself and my family that travel through our airports. So once again, thank you for the opportunity to speak to you today. I welcome you again to the U.S. Virgin Islands, and I trust that you'll have the next couple of days will be something that says, I definitely need to invest in the USVI. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Bushelty. Now, our success as a tourism destination not only relies on government, but also the support of the private sector here in the U.S. Virgin Islands. Here today to speak on behalf of the St. Thomas St. John Chamber of Commerce is the President, Mr. John Woods.
Thank you, Monica. Protocol already haven't been established, and I'm afraid to miss someone, so I will start my remarks by saying I'm John Woods, President of the St. Thomas St. John Chamber of Commerce. We're very excited about this P3 project and what it could mean for the Virgin Islands and its continued growth. I'm going to piggyback a little bit on what the Commissioner talked about. My experience during the COVID response time, particularly 2020 through 22, you know, many parts of the mainland suffered economically. I would say the Virgin Islands had one of the best responses and really boomed, and particularly in the area of overnight tourism. You couldn't find anywhere for visitors to stay. There were always a lot of flights coming in every day. You had to make, at least on the personal side for me, reservations at any restaurant 2 weeks in advance. So it obviously talked about how much we were growing and how much we need to respond to that growth. I think many of us who have lived here for a long period of time have always wondered when the terminals and the operations could rise to meet the level it needs to. I think the Port Authority has done a great job managing the funding it's had available over the decades, but certainly a project like this is going to bring a great future and continued growth for us here in the Virgin Islands. So, as the Commissioner said, I hope all of you who on the tours today, there are quite a few business people in the industry here that I see that are local, that certainly can provide assistance to you as you try to develop your teams, and good luck to all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Woods. The president of the St. Croix Chamber of Commerce could not be here with us today, but he has sent a beautiful substitute. We have board member Mrs. Nancy Torres from the St. Croix Chamber of Commerce.
A pleasant good morning to all. As My name is Nancy Torres, and I am a member of the Board of Directors of St. Croix Chamber of Commerce. The St. Croix Chamber of Commerce represents hundreds of businesses on St. Croix, which is the largest island of the Virgin Islands, where you all will be traveling tomorrow. The business community of St. Croix is excited at the prospect of new investment in our airport. Airport investment is critical to economic growth on St. Croix. For most visitors, the airport is both the first thing you see when you arrive and the last thing you see when leaving. A tourist destination cannot thrive without a strong airport system. The good news is that St. Croix has so much to offer the world. St. Croix is home to some of the finest restaurants, casino, and scenery in the region. From Crucian rum, Captain Morgan, St. Croix produced a significant percentage of the world rum, and now we also have Mutiny Breadfruit vodka. There are many attractions, such as Point Udall, which is the easternmost point of the United States, Sandy Point, a world-renowned turtle nesting site, and Book Island Reef National Monument. In recognition of the sheer beauty and potential of St. Croix, President Joe Biden recently signed into law the National Heritage Area Act, which designates the entire island of St. Croix as a National Heritage Area. This designation allows for the development and promotion of the rich and diverse culture of St. Croix. Revitalizing our airport goes hand in hand with all this development. Thank you once again for visiting our beautiful Virgin Islands. The St. Croix business community welcomes you with open arms and look forward to working with you in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Torres. Next, we will have the CEO of the VI Economic Development Authority, Mr. Wayne Biggs. He will provide you with information about doing business in the Virgin Islands and also share with you some exciting opportunities that are available.
Good morning, everyone. Protocol having been already established, I'll just say good morning, Governor. Good morning to members of the 35th Legislature and all the distinguished guests that are here. I'm Wayne Biggs Jr. I'm the Chief Executive Officer of the Virgin Islands Economic Development Authority, one of the main entities in reference to bringing economic development here into the territory. I'd like to say over the past 2 years, we have about 40 new applications that we've approved for tax incentives, and those businesses should be coming online as we speak. We are very much in support of this Triple P project. We work very closely with Joe and his team over in the Department of Tourism, and not only do we work closely with Carlton and his team at VIPA, but we're also tenants of VIPA over on St. Croix. We are in charge of business attraction, but not only do we do business attraction, we also have business retention and expansion. We have programs that provide access to capital for small businesses. We do administrative and managerial assistance through our incubators and our accelerators. We do neighborhood development, community planning, and we run 2 industrial parks that we provide rent at below market rates for economic development projects. We are also fully involved in reference to the hotel projects that are being developed. The Frenchman's Reef, or was formerly the Marriott Frenchman's Reef and Morningstar Hotel. We anticipate to come online in late June with another 400 rooms here in the territory, and they've actually upgraded the brand to the Westin. So we anticipate that. Also here on St. Thomas, we expect Sugar Bay, an entity that has been damaged since 2017 when Hurricanes Irma and Maria passed through the territory, to come online in late 2024. Additionally, we're working with investors to develop 2 hotel projects on St. Croix, one adjacent to the airport over in St. Croix, and also one on the north side in the Cane Bay area that the investors have already have term sheets and a variety of different things, and they're just putting their investment monies together. The Triple P on itself as a managerial product will not necessarily qualify for tax incentive, but there are other ways that your operations can qualify. We have several entities that have their back office operations here throughout the territory, and so I will send you directly some information in reference to tax incentives. We do provide a 90% federal income tax reduction to operations that are here in the territory. We provide a 90% reduction on personal income taxes on that income is derived from those operations for bona fide residents of the territory. Unfortunately, we can't reduce a tax rate in another jurisdiction. Business assets during operations for real property is reduced 100%, and we don't have a sale tax, but we have a gross receipt tax, and that's also reduced. In addition, we reduce the import tax to 100% on our excise tax area, and on our custom duties, we reduce from 6% to 1%. There's a variety of ways that we can also assist you in these hotel projects, and we're hoping that this project will move ahead so we can do so. This hotel property this airport property is in an opportunity zone. And so investments through an opportunity fund is available in reference to developing projects here within this region. And the opportunity zone provides members or persons with capital gains tax to invest in businesses and get deferred taxes. So the St. Croix property is not in an opportunity zone, but the governor and his team are working on creating that opportunity zone area over on St. Croix. The St. Croix property is in a trade zone, and we can provide tax incentives also to businesses that support those trade zone activities. So as you invest here and you're luring businesses, there's a variety of different tax incentives we can provide to you and to those businesses to entice and enhance investment. And like I said, I will send those packages to you directly, and then we're available if there are any questions that you may have, and we're happy to meet with anybody and explain our programs a little more in detail in regard to that. But we have very limited time, so I can't go into all the nuts and bolts in reference to those programs. But we really look forward to this Triple P, and we look forward to working with you in the future. So thank you all for coming and for showing interest in this project, and good luck as you bid to move forward. Thank you.
As most of you are aware, the Port Authority's Board of Governors authorized the Executive Director to move forward with this P3 project, and in December we issued our RFQ, which you responded to. Here today to speak on behalf of the Virgin Islands Port Authority Board of Governors is Mr. Willard John. He is our chairperson and a private representative of the District of St. Croix.
Good morning, everybody. I understand we have some very heavy hitters here from all parts of the world, from Europe, Canada, and the United States. This clearly demonstrates that there is significant opportunity here in the Virgin Islands. And on behalf of the Board of Governors, we want to give you a big Virgin Islands welcome. We are excited about this P3 opportunity. I think it would give us what we have been wanting for quite some time. We want to modernize and upgrade our airports. And this opportunity is here now, and we want to seize on it. You're going to get a tour today of St. Thomas Airports and tomorrow of St. Croix. For your information, I live on St. Croix. And I want to tell you that St. Croix is the future of development in the Virgin Islands, so don't leave us out. Again, we are excited about this opportunity, and the board will oversee and finally approve of this process. And we look forward to it, and we're excited, and again, welcome.
Thank you, Chairman John. Next, we will have the Executive Director of the Virgin Islands Port Authority, the driving force behind this very important project for the Virgin Islands. Director Dell?
Thank you, Munifa, and good morning to all. I stood and I sat, I listened, and all these folks came from all parts of the world, and it made me think that they flew in here to a relative funeral. So I want us to all, for our own selves, and you traveling so far to be here in this beautiful place that God created, give all yourselves a round of applause, man. Man, I make some noise. I sung a bit like it. I want to also recognize the entire staff of the Virgin Islands Port Authority. Please stand quickly. I make sure I do that because Carlton Dow is only but one of those employees. But it's all the employees, the 300 plus, that makes up the authority, that we thank them for what they do every day. I also want to recognize the members of our governing board, because that's the people who set the policy for this organization. So as we speak and have a discussion later, these board members ultimately would have to weigh in on this project, and then finally the governor of the Virgin Islands will have to give his blessings if we are to go forward. I also want to recognize my friends in the Virgin Islands legislature. Please stand. Just stand for one more minute. Please give these folks a serious round of applause. Thank you. Depends on the applause is how much money they give us. Thank you guys, Mr. President Nobel Francis. This project that we expect to undertake for the Port Authority is serious. It's a serious project for the territory. Because while Commissioner Bushelter spoke of how well we have done with our tourism product, the fact of the matter, we can't rest there. We must grow, and part of our growth is going to make sure that we have new facilities, state-of-the-art facilities, that when people come, what they see, and when they leave, they can in fact tell their friends, family about their visit. No longer would folks have to be lifted in a bread truck to enter a plane. We don't expect after this process to be second to no airport, nowhere in the Caribbean. That is our pledge. That is why we're here. We can't accept no less. Our community demands it. The people that comes in and pay all of our salaries demands it. I also want to take a quick look and recognize those people, our consultants along the way. We appreciate what they do and the guidance that they, impart to us. But this project is also important because, and that's why we asked Commissioner, Executive Director, Mr. Biggs, to be present. Because as you look at opportunities, yes, we want you to zero in on the airport, but we want the entire world to know that the United States Virgin Islands is open for business. That's what we want you to know. As you go later this afternoon and you, after lunch, and you traverse our facility and you look around and so forth, what I want you to bear in mind, you're going to do St. Thomas today, tomorrow you'll do St. Croix. The potentials are bursting. But when you get over to St. Croix, what you're going to see from the time you land is a property that can accommodate the largest jet wherever they make them can land in St. Croix. President Biden was just here recently, and for a minute we thought it was a military base, because the amount of C-17 was landing and taking off right there in St. Croix. And right across the street from our facility is some 400 acres of property to be developed. Only thing separating our airport in St. Croix from this 400 acres is the roadway. So opportunities galore exist there. As we follow this process, the Port Authority expect throughout this entire process to be completely transparent in all our deliberations. And so whatever information that any one of you might request, just know that everyone that's participating will be getting or seeing the very same information. We want this to be a level playing field where folks that are qualified and later on the request for our proposal goes out, that we could find the best mixture and match for us. One of the things I want to make sure I say to you though, the Port Authority is not a stranger to serious relationships and public-private partnerships. This is not our first rodeo. So I'm going to ask this gentleman to quickly, Mr. Sean Miller, could you just quickly, just step forward, man, come. Actually, one of the reasons I asked him to come, he don't know this yet, but we probably use his jet to take some of you tomorrow. So there's always a reason. But I want to introduce this gentleman who I didn't know, came to this territory, wanted to do some business. Where we are standing right now was the Port Authority's old dilapidated hangar. And we said, our governing board at the time said, you know what? We're going to go out there and see if we could find someone who would take this old hangar, rebuild it for their own use, and at the same time, they would have to build for the Port Authority at their own expense a brand new maintenance building. That brand new maintenance building is across the street, and Mr. Sean Miller built Standard Aviation in a true public-private partnership. He wins. The port wins, the traveling public wins. So I want all of us to understand this is not foreign when we talk about what the possibilities are. What I could tell each and every one of you, you will get a straight answer from the Port Authority. And so I really always want to thank you for what Mr. Miller came to this territory, forge a relationship with the authority, and what we were able to accomplish. So thank you, and I'll see you in the morning. I would like to just say to all of us, though, that when we undertake these kind of ventures, these kind of projects, the reason we spend a lot of time going out to the public is because we really want the public to understand the importance of this, recognize it, and the investment community to understand that we are here to listen, we are here to work together, and we are here to see what the next, whether Sean Miller, the kind of relationships we forge, but we were looking for true partnership. Partnership is not a one-way street. Partnership is not where one person or one company benefits. Partnership in the truest sense is when all walks away feeling good about the relationship. And so we have forged such partnership with Tropical Shipping, Crowley, and all these places. I just want the public and all of us to understand this is not the first rodeo for the Port Authority. So we really welcome you here. We're glad to see each and every one of you. And as you traverse our facilities, just know that we will be there for whoever is those finalists to really work with you and make sure that we develop a first-class facility on both islands that all of us could look back and be very, very proud of. So with that, I really want to thank each and every one of you for coming, all our employees, all our friends, and I can't miss, because while I'm there, I'm seeing some folks giving me some signs. How you mention the tenants what we have now? So all the tenants at the airport, just raise your hand, say hello quickly. All the tenants at the airport, Cleo, see all of you, thanks. And so the tenants and who else, I didn't miss anybody. Munifa, if I miss anybody, just. And we have quite a bit of contractors. Some are currently working for the authority, some worked for the Port Authority in the past. But for some reasons, all the contractors are in here today. Give the contractors a round of applause. And for some other reason, I see a bunch of architects. Give them a round of applause too. Once again, we thank you, we appreciate you, and the media folks who continue to get the message out, we really appreciate you because you are the ones who continue to get the public in tune and let them know what is happening. So we're glad that you could be here, so when somebody, probably we call your station, that at least you would have first-hand information. Thank you, God bless, enjoy the rest of your stay.
Thank you, Director Dow. We have a small change in our program. Next, we will hear from Mr. Larry Belinsky of Frasca and Associates, who will provide some information about and statistics about our airports here in the U.S. Virgin Islands.
Thank you, Monica. I'd like to acknowledge Governor Bryan and the legislature and thank them for coming, as well as Executive Director Dow and his staff and all the help that they've provided us, and Commissioner Busholti and Chairman John and the other distinguished speakers today. Welcome and thank you all for making the trip. I'm sure it did not hurt that we scheduled this in February and not July, that the turnout was so good, but again, thank you all for coming and for opening up your thought processes to this opportunity. Since August, we have been engaged in a variety of stakeholder outreach that has included the government here and the governor of the Virgin Islands with the 34th legislature. We've met with both of them. We've met with the aviation unions and the employees and tenants both at St. Thomas and St. Croix airports to inform them about the process and what we are planning to do here. In addition, we have had multiple conversations with the FAA, with the regional office in Atlanta, as well as with Kevin Willis, and explained to him what we are planning to do, the structure of what we're planning to do, and we have all received very positive responses and support relative to those conversations, as well as our conversations with the airlines here. We all know that we have a lot of work to do, but the conversations to date have been very positive and have helped to inform our decisions and ideas as to how to move forward. And lastly, we've just had conversations with the United States Economic Development Authority about opportunities where they can support future development on their lands, because the St. Croix Airport is in an economic zone, a economic enterprise zone, and the airport here at St. Thomas is in a opportunity zone. So there are opportunities for support from the Economic Development Authority depending on those types of businesses that could be attracted. Next, please. Again, this is not new information, but just to reiterate, because this was laid out in this request for qualifications, we are looking to do a terminal lease and development agreement and a separate O&M agreement for all other aspects of the airport. We are talking about everything that is within the fence line of the airport, so that we would be turning over the operations and maintenance and the revenues of all of that, including the terminal building, as part of the P3. And also it is St. Thomas Airport and St. Croix Airport. There's going to be one selected entity to develop both of those airports. As we've already stated, the Virgin Island Port Authority will retain ownership of the airport and will hold the certificate for the airport, but we will look to that private operator to maintain the standards and requirements of the Part 139 and work with the authority in preparing grant applications, PFC applications, and all of that, since both airports will still be eligible for FAA funding. We are not going under the AIPP program. The reason for that is we are not looking for an upfront payment. We are not looking to monetize the airport, but we are looking for a partner to develop the airport, both from a capital perspective and a growth and business perspective. So we're not looking for any upfront payments, so therefore we're not going to be going through that program. And as I said, we're looking for an O&M agreement to manage and operate the airports. The next one, please. Again, just some basic information. The airport here at St. Thomas is about 511 acres. About 121 of those acres are submerged lands beyond the west end of the runway, which we will see later during the tour. The terminal is 250,000 square feet. We will also see on the tour that there is 60,000 square feet of terminal space that is undeveloped on the second floor, which provides a very exciting opportunity as we move forward. 14 gates here at the King Airport, 11 commuter and commercial airline gates, and 3 for cargo. The major carriers, and the runway length here is 7,000 feet. As we move on to the next slide, these are the airlines that service the St. Thomas Airport, with American and Delta being the 2 largest from a market share perspective, followed by United, Spirit, and JetBlue. And we also have the Cape Air and Silver that provide down island kind of commuter service and things like that, as well as the destinations to Houston, DFW, Miami, Fort Lauderdale, Atlanta, and so on. I should say that this presentation will be uploaded to the P3 airport website that Monica spoke about, and is listed in the RFQ. So you could take pictures, but please know that the presentation will be uploaded for everyone to see. As we move on to the next slide, you can see that has been discussed by some of the previous speakers, the recovery of the airport coming out of COVID. And that top line, the 2022 number, is through VIPA's fiscal year, which ends September 30th. Since September 30th through the end of the year, there have been an additional 158,000 in-plane passengers, for a total of 310 passengers going through the St. Thomas Airport in the last 3 months. So demand is still high, and we expect that our fiscal 2023 year will exceed fiscal 2022. And cargo, as you can see, is also growing. As we move to the next one, here is an outline of projects on the left-hand side that are under construction or starting within the next 12 months. That's about $37 million of investment at the airport, and planned to begin within the next 36 months is about $46 million of investment. So this is work that is either underway or about to begin. As we move to the next slide and over to St. Croix Airport, as Director Dow talked about, that airport is over 1,400 acres, with 1,347 of those acres kind of being within the fence line, and other acreage that is owned by the authority outside the fence line. And again, while we're not specifically talking about it right now, as we move into the RFP process with the shortlisted entities, we will be entertaining other potential airport-related development on those lands there through that RFP process, and we will be, as I said, looking to do that. The terminal there is 148,500 feet. There are 16 gates, 9 air carrier gates and 7 cargo. And the other significant opportunity is the runway is 10,000 feet, which provides for a lot of growth and a lot of opportunity as it relates to both commercial and cargo opportunities. The next slide talks about the air service. Again, it is covered by American, Delta, and Spirit, as well as a number of commuter planes that again service the surrounding islands: Bulky, Cape Air, Coastal, Sea Flight, Seabourn, Silver, and Vieques. And the major passenger carriers break out with American #1, followed by Spirit and Delta. Again, a lot of opportunity there as we look to move forward through the process. The next slide talks about some historical operating information. The number of in-plane passengers in 2022 was 208,000 through fiscal year, ending September 30th. Since that time, the last 3 months, we've had an additional 44,000 in-plane passengers. Yes, 44,000 in-plane passengers. So again, still holding fast with the numbers of 2022. Again, the cargo is where there's a significant opportunity. As you can see, for the last 2 years, those cargo numbers have dropped precipitously, and that has been a result of the lack of facility processing capabilities at St. Croix. But again, as you look in the last couple of years, it's been very significant, so an opportunity there. As we continue talking about St. Croix, we see that similarly there's about $21 million of projects under construction or scheduled to begin within the next 12 months, and another $22 million that are planned to begin in the next 36 months. So again, keeping the airports going and maintaining the aprons and runways and things along those lines. As we move to the next slide, I would be remiss if I didn't ask the members of the Airport P3 advisory team if they could just stand, the ones that are here. As I said, Frasca and Associates is serving as the P3 and financial advisor. Mayor Brown is our legal advisor. We also have Virgin Island legal support and advice from Jennifer Jones and Trudy Fenster. The Pasley Group is our technical advisor, and our communications advisor, also local on the island, is Public Strategies Group. So it's a very good mix, and those of you, and we all have met at many conferences, so it's a group that has been successful in getting deals done, and we look to do the same here. Just lastly for me before, well, a couple more, sorry. If we go to the timeline, this again was in the RFQ, and it has not changed. But if we look at the next couple of milestones, we are here today at the industry forum. We are looking for prospective bidders to give us an indicative notification of their intent to submit by February 15th. The last day for bidders to submit questions is February 23rd. Viper responses to those questions will be March 7th. And the SOQ Statement of Qualification deadline for submission is March 16th. At this point in the process, we do not see any of these dates changing. Next, I just want to give you a highlight of this is what we plan to go through today on the tour. A complete kind of airfield tour. And during the airfield tour, Jerome Sheridan, our airport director, will be talking us through the different elements, as well as the terminal components, as well as ending in baggage claim and a review of the landside aspects of the airport. And then tomorrow, as the next slide shows, we will be doing the same at the Hira Airport. With that, I'd like to open it up to questions related to either the tour or the process. If you have questions of a different nature, I will guide you as the RFQ says to submit those questions, and we will get those questions answered in the timeline that was outlined in the timeline I just went through. So does anyone have any questions? This is like speaking on a panel. No one, you know. Okay. Get that? So with that, I will just so everyone knows, after the governor speaks, we'll adjourn for a lunch that will be served back in the lobby area of Standard Aviation. And right now, we are scheduled to begin the tour, which will leave from here at 12:45. And lastly, I just want to thank Sean and the team at Standard Aviation for all their help today and throughout the process. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Mr. Belinsky. I think you covered all the bases. That's why we may have no questions today. But if you do think of anything, I just wanted to reiterate that we will have a video of this entire forum that we have this morning, and the presentation will be uploaded to vipaairportsp3.com. And like my boss likes to say, if you don't remember the website, the old time way works. You can always call the Port Authority. Our telephone number 340-774-1629. You can always call for the Public Relations Office if you have any questions. And now, with that being said, I'd like you all to please stand as we welcome to the podium our elected for the second term, our Governor of the U.S. Virgin Islands, the Honorable Albert Bryan, Jr.
Good morning, everybody. Please sit down. Good morning to Senate President Francis. Gotta make sure the wardrobe is tight. Other senators and everyone else on the panel, Executive Director Dow, and our partners from the Chamber, EDA. Good morning. Unfortunately, I stand between you and lunch. So, Commissioner Bushalty, first I would like to welcome those of you who have never been to the Virgin Islands, especially welcome you, and welcome the rest of you who have been here and been our partners. Commissioner Bushalty and I were on a conference call late last night trying to get the perfect day for you with heaven. So that blue sky you see out there, it's not quite there. I'm sorry, we want to give our apologies because it's not where it is to be. And we all are wearing coats because it's a little chilly today. It's not our usual warmth. And it is winter, so I hope you forgive us for how we look today. The visibility today is only about 30 miles. We apologize for that as well. And the blue waters is just not the right color teal that we wanted it to be, but we'll get it right. You know, I'm real bullish on economic development, and I 4 years ago somebody came to me and they said, we should do a public-private partnership and lease out the airports. And I'm like, we had way too much on our agenda. So what we did is we waited 4 years later when we have 10 times as much as on our agenda to do it. But we're really excited about this because I don't know if you may be new to the island, but I really like winning. I really enjoy it. And this is an opportunity for us to win. And in winning in the Virgin Islands, you know, tourism is 75% of our gross domestic product. That's what we do. And if we're going to do it, we want to do it right. And part of that is being able to make key decisions very quickly. That's why we were so successful in COVID, in the things that we've got accomplished and the way we were able to kill it. Having a private sector partner is so important to us as we grow. And we are growing beyond leaps and bounds. As a matter of fact, there's $137,000 dedicated to every single man, woman, and child in the Virgin Islands in this growth development. $12 billion worth of development that we are slated to do over the next 10 or so years. And in doing so, that's just government development. That's not even private sector development. So when you talk about this being a good place to be, the kind of people that we have the strategy to attract are the Seans of the world. So what he didn't tell you about Sean is Sean came as a tourist, then built a house to be on holiday, then brought his company here and participated in our EDC program, took his company and needed some place for his jet, built a hangar. Now he needs places for his pilots, so he's building a hotel. That's the kind of partnership that we're trying to create here. Those are the kind of opportunities that are here in the Virgin Islands. When you think we have $500 to $800 million of economic growth and capital investment to do every single year. This is not part of the airport development. This is completely separate. Our cruise development is the same. Over $200 million dedicated to our cruise facilities. Over $200 million dedicated to our waterfront infrastructure and facility, improving our tourism product again and again and again. And we are inviting you to participate on this. Things that I would like to mention to you today, and for my listening public, change is always frightening to people. I'm a pioneer. I love change. I'm the one that goes out there and takes all the arrows, goes into uncharted territory, get bit by snakes. I love that. I realize people don't all like that. But the change that we're doing here are phenomenal things we never thought we were able to do. When you looked at the original airport design, I was like, when is that going to happen? Boom. 2024, we're going to make that happen. We're going to be picking a partner that does that. And, you know, I do business in my head every single place I go. I do it so much, my kids do it. We calculate how much money people are making wherever we go. The city of Atlanta Hartsfield-Jackson Airport employs 40,000 people. 40,000 people. That's the size of our entire workforce. The entire workforce, not just St. Thomas, St. Croix, and St. John. So when you look at this development, this is not only about bringing tourists, it's about creating jobs, it's about opening new partnerships. St. Thomas, when I was a kid, that was a mountain or a hill of it. I couldn't believe they were going to tear it down and create an airport out of it, but they did it. We're on the precipice of that kind of vision again, and we're going to do it. The beautiful thing about it is that it creates opportunity for everyone. As we expand our tourism product in St. Thomas, it's great because people are going to be coming in, enjoying the airport. You know, when I go to Miami, I do a little shopping. I go to Charlotte, I do a little shopping there. That's how we want our airport to be reflected. So we're doing just more than just enplaning passengers and getting people on to their way. St. Croix now is a huge opportunity because thanks to our good senator here, the airport is part of the entire economic free trade zone on the South Shore. That means that the airport can generate its own power and resell to its economic development partners anywhere along that South Shore. It means that the airport can take on an industrial park that's next door. The $40 million we're doing with the National Guard and the development that's going to happen on the airport on the northern apron. It means that that airport is less than a mile from two major seaports with containers. It means that those people enjoying all of this development can also get that 90% tax break on their taxes if they do small manufacturing in the Virgin Islands. So lots to speak about, lots of opportunity to have. I encourage you to look around and not only look at our airports, but everything else we're doing, because there's a lot going on, both in the public sector and in the private sector. So, like I said, welcome to the Virgin Islands. People always meet me and they say, I love your islands. They don't really belong to me, right? But I kind of act like that sometimes. So welcome to my islands. And I hope you really pay attention to our opportunities, and I'll be around to answer any questions. Would love to engage and see you become a part of our great economic and residential family here in the Virgin Islands. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, I'm sure you all received a wealth of information today, and I'm sure you're also very famished. We are going to have two activities occurring now. First, we will have a press briefing where the media will be allowed to speak directly with the governor, Albert Ryan Jr., and Port Authority Executive Director, Mr. Carlton Dow. This press briefing will take place in the pilot room, which is on the second floor of this hangar. Everyone else, we get to go to lunch. But don't take too long because we will begin the tour at 12:45. So we're going to break now for lunch, and we'll meet back here for the airport tour at 12:45. Thank you. Thank you all for coming today. And media, you are invited for refreshments after your press briefing.